sleep deprivation is a form of torture. Can we just remember that?
Yeah.
That's how they fucking torture people.
Think it's pretty shitty when people pretend they don't have help and they're doing it all on their own. And I'm like, I'm not going to pretend that.
I was so fucking offended. I was like, what kind of cruel parenting does your grandmother expect me to do? This is so old fashioned. The judgment, I look back now and I'm like, Alex, like maybe you should have listened to her. The woman had multiple babies. She was a nurse. Like maybe she actually knew.
Honestly, she would sleep and feed for the whole first month. That's all she did. And I was like, it got to 6 weeks and I thought, oh God, I need to figure out how to shower.
In certain situations, you're just mom and no one's going to replace mom. That's why it's important to support what the mum needs. I also hope that a new mum can listen to this.
Yeah.
And realize that A, it's normal to feel completely psycho about things, but maybe she can also learn from some of our mistakes.
Yeah.
And just relax a little bit.
Welcome to It's Upgrade Season, the only place to get raw and unfiltered advice on how to get your shit together 1 week at a time. I'm your host, Alexandria, and join me every Monday for The Upgrade and every Friday for The Wind Down, where I'm going to be answering your dilemmas. Small shifts, huge upgrades. Let's fucking do this.
Okay, babe. So whenever I've posted about this on Instagram recently, there have been so many mums jumping in being like, oh my God, same. And no one has ever said this before. So I thought, let's bring it to the podcast. And I think it's going to be interesting because I think we're going to be the same on some things, but pretty different on some others. And I want to know, what are the biggest pieces of motherhood advice that you got given that you ignored that actually made you a happier mum?
Oh, I think this could get spicy. Okay, I've made a list.
I've got a list as well.
Okay, let's do one each. My first one is co-sleeping. And I felt like I got so much advice that co-sleeping is the best thing for you, the best thing for your baby. Having your baby in another room is like so bad of you and all this stuff. You want the complete honesty?
Yeah.
Like full honest truth. From day 5, I had a night nurse.
Good for you, babe.
From day 5, my night nurse came at 10 p.m. and she left at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And guess what? My toddler could not be more securely attached.
Yeah.
She could not feel more loved.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful relationship with her.
Yeah.
And I was more well rested for it. And oh, the shame I got for that.
I find this wild because I've seen your guys' relationship, actually. She's literally your mini best friend. It's so adorable. Like you say, so securely attached. And also, you've spoken about this before. You went through a lot in your labor. And I think you needed the rest.
Yeah, I went through an incredibly traumatic birth like you did. I came home from hospital with PTSD.
Yeah.
And I was struggling. I was really struggling. I needed every bit of sleep that I could get. Oh, I have so much more advice for this, by the way. Oh my God, there's more that just came to me from someone that said something so offensive to me. We'll get to that part. But yes, I struggled.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let's get even more fucking real about this. I didn't breastfeed through the night.
Yeah.
So here's another thing. So people would say, even the night nurse's advice was, we'll bring the baby into you, you can feed, and then I'll put the baby back to bed.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I ended up breastfeeding. I breastfed for 20 months. So we got the hang of it and became really easy. In the beginning, it was not easy. I was like, it took me so long to get her latched to my boob.
Yeah.
There was milk flying everywhere. She's crying. Like, it was a nightmare. And so during the day, I would breastfeed all day.
Yeah.
But at night, I would pump every 3 hours and I would leave the milk outside my room and I would go back to bed.
Yeah.
And my night nurse was an absolute angel sent from heaven. And truly, she helped me get through that period of time. She would take the milk. She would feed Noemi. People would say to me, if you give her a bottle so early on, she'll not latch anymore and she'll prefer that to breast and you'll have ruined your breastfeeding experience. People told me this is going to affect your supply because not having her with you at night and pumping is going to change your supply.
Yeah.
Guess what? I had perfect latch with Noemi. She would have kept breastfeeding still to this day. I was ready to wean.
Yeah.
I never had a single supply issue. None of that.
Yeah.
So many people told me that what I was doing by pumping overnight was wrong. And even I started going really early on, very long stretches, because I was waking up every 3 hours and I was just really tired, as we all are, but I was just really tired. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to let my boobs wake me up. And so there were nights, like in the first couple of weeks, where sometimes I'd sleep till 6 hours and then I'd wake up in agony and I'd have to pump. But I just stopped doing that. My
That's
milk
actually quite a good strategy.
It didn't. My milk supply didn't change at all.
Yeah.
And I started to be able to go through the night like really well. And I always had enough milk for Noemi, and it was great. And that just really supported us because back in the day, we mothers were not the ones doing everything all the time.
Yeah.
We were in villages. Other women would take your baby so that you can recuperate from birth. They would breastfeed your baby because
Yeah.
there was no formula, right?
Yeah.
We would all chip in.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but if I'm living with another woman and she's just given birth, I'm saying to her, give me the baby tonight. I'll take care of the baby. You rest.
100%.
Doesn't make you a bad mum, and it's not going to mess up your baby.
Yeah.
It's actually going to be really good for you. So there you go. So much of that advice was around the pumping stuff. I got told, you shouldn't be pumping this early on. You shouldn't be giving it, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
My baby breastfed for as long as I wanted to breastfeed her, no supply issues whatsoever. And she is so securely attached that I'm so glad I did that. But I know that's controversial.
But I'm glad you shared that as well, because I feel like there's going to be women listening who are, like, let's be honest, I was in this position. Motherhood can feel really scary. And that might be one of the biggest things that scares them. So just even hearing that there are options and the support available can be such a relief. I remember the first time I heard about night nurses, I was like, oh my God, there's other ways of doing this that gets to feel really good. We actually were going to do a night nurse, and I'd gone through the process and everything, and then actually ended up enjoying the night feeds, which I didn't expect. I really didn't expect to do that. But we did get a nanny from 8 weeks, which we'll go on to childcare in a minute. But the co-sleeping thing didn't work for us either. I've tried it. Leo is so wiggly. None of us sleep. We're all grumpy. But also Leo's grumpy. My child is grumpy if he's slept in bed with us. We just don't sleep well together. And that's just our reality. Great if it isn't, but for me, that advice didn't work at all. I think on that, another one that is, let's say early days actually, one piece of advice that I didn't follow was not seeing people for the first 40 days. So there's this big thing now about, I don't know where it originates from. Can you remember where it originates from?
It's an Asian, I'm not sure fully, but yeah, it's an Asian tradition. It's the first 40 days. I don't know if it originated in China.
Yeah. Although bringing this up, someone comes to your house for those 40 days and cooks for you, binds you, does all the things. So they're getting supported. But anyway, the whole principle is that you don't see anyone for the first 40 days. You're just in your bubble. You bond with your baby. You don't leave the house. Like, you're just in that bubble. That honestly would have tipped me over the edge. If I did that, I would have lost my tiny mind. There is no way I could have sat in the house for 40 days with me and my newborn baby and my husband and not seen anyone. Like, seeing people really made sure that I didn't spiral or tip or just feel like I was literally losing my mind. So I was actually really grateful to see people. And I saw people really early on.
Yeah, I remember that for you.
You both came around.
Yeah, I
came
remember.
around for breakfast. You were like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. Please come round.
I was the opposite. I didn't want to see people.
Really?
No, so I really liked the first 40 days. I loved it. And also it was really hot here. So I had no the end of May and it was like 100 degrees outside every day. So I wasn't really going out.
Yeah.
But I felt, the only way to describe it is like energetically fragile. And I think that a part of that is just what happened in birth. But I felt really energetically fragile that I didn't want to be around anyone.
Yeah.
And I was very anxious and I didn't want Noemi around. And I didn't want to deal with people trying to hold her because I didn't want anyone to hold Noemi.
Yeah.
For the first 40 days, the only people that held Noemi was me, Stephen, and her night nurse.
Really? I didn't know that.
Not a single person held her. And I said no. And I'd seen 3 people in that time that came to the house, but they only came for an hour.
Okay.
And they came once. And I didn't let anybody hold the baby.
Oh my gosh.
And that worked for me. I wouldn't let anyone, not even near. They just weren't. Like, and they would ask and I just didn't even feel bad saying no. I was like, no one holds the baby.
That's so interesting to me. So I was like, yeah, pass them around.
Yeah, no.
Have a cuddle, guys.
Even Stephen would have to fight to hold her.
Really?
Yeah. No, I just had her attached to me until our night nurse arrived, which, by the way, it might be we might be saying it wrong. It might be a baby nurse. Until they arrived at 10 p.m., no one. Stephen would be like, can I please hold Noemi? I'm like, okay, just for a little bit. Just had her attached to me 24/7.
Linda, I love that. It's hilarious. She's asking for cuddles. Flipping off that, something that's maybe a bit controversial, which I actually did do, but I wish I'd ignored on reflection, was I was so present with my newborn baby. This is probably so controversial. I wish I'd watched more TV. Honestly, I would make sure I was staring at him, holding him, having him near, and it made it really hard work. And the best part? The black and white toys. Guys, do not buy a single fucking black and white toy. It's the biggest con going. They don't need black and white toys. They don't need black and white toys. I'd be dangling me fucking toys in front of me. I can't even see that far at this point. I'm dangling this fucking toy. And I'm like, this is tragic for all of us. I honestly just I wish I'd put him in the bouncer and had a shower. I wish I'd watched a bit more TV. I was overly present. I'm sorry.
So wait, when he was like a newborn, you didn't watch TV?
Occasionally, if I was like holding him, we'd put something on in the background. But I could have been running them box sets. Like I really could have been piling through some stuff. I didn't pile through. Maybe watch an hour or two a day, which given you're in the house most of the day was not a lot.
Wow, that's where we differ.
Yeah, but
I watched so much TV.
I wish you told me this.
I just lay on the sofa with Noemi on my chest, watching TV.
That's the dream.
And she just slept all day long on me.
And that was a one-off opportunity because you now know when you have another child,
That's not going to happen.
you ain't going to be lying on the couch.
No.
The thing.
That's all I did.
I miss that golden era.
But I did do the black and white toys.
Okay.
And maybe some pediatrician's going to be like, yes, shouldn't. But I feel like it did nothing. So like when we started doing schedules at 6 weeks,
Yeah.
there was these wake windows. And I can't remember if it was a 60-minute or 90-minute wake window. I didn't watch TV in that time. Like
Yeah.
when she was a newborn, like the first 40 days, I would say I was watching a lot of TV. Schitt's
Yeah.
Creek was my vice. But when we started getting on a schedule, if she was awake for those 60 to 90 minutes, I would sit and play with her for 60 to 90 minutes. She couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm with the black and white toys and I'm doing the tummy time and all this stuff. It was so not neat. Like, why was I doing that? I could have been chilling. I could have been cooking it. Like,
Literally.
and then I was like, oh, I'll go get it done while she's napping.
Yeah.
Wait, why didn't you just put her in a bouncer and meal prep?
Absolute psychopaths.
I don't get it.
Yeah. And then I'd also come in and Jake would come in the room and he'd be like, you okay, hon? I'd be like, because my fucking black and white toy is rocking. Just like, this isn't fun. It's just not fun. It's like, why? Why didn't I just prep a meal? Why didn't I even just read a book with him? I don't know. It's just, honestly, that I wish I hadn't followed the advice on.
No, literally, I told myself the story that if I wasn't that 60-minute wake window, if I was not doting on her, every move she'd feel ignored. And she's...
Okay, I'll give you one worse. Someone once told me if I didn't eye gaze with him whilst they breastfed, he'd have behavioural issue. No, I kid you not. Someone mentioned this in a fleeting comment when I wasn't even pregnant, prior to babies, and it permeated my brain. I'm like, it's like I would be staring, eye gazing as we breastfed, not wanting to give him any behavioural issues.
The whole time?
Babe, the whole time. If he was looking, if he had his eyes closed, I would look away. But if he had those eyes open, I was gazing back.
I am dead.
Psychopath.
Oh my God, I just read my Kindle. She just wanted to breastfeed 24/7, honestly, and I just read my Kindle.
Who told? Babe, honestly, I can't. Let's talk about that schedule. I feel like that's another one. Where are you on the schedules?
I wish I'd done a schedule earlier.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I didn't read a single parenting book. Maybe I sound like a terrible mum. I didn't read any of that stuff.
Me neither.
I just thought, you know what, when she comes, I'll know what to do. And I was honestly my business was requiring a lot of me when I was pregnant, that I didn't have a lot of extra time.
Just 3 or 4. Ricky comes. I don't know what to do.
I'll figure it. How hard can it be? But then when so Noemi was, they call them Velcro babies on Instagram. Like,
Oh, yeah.
genuinely, it was probably because I just held her 24/7. I couldn't put her down. So
Yeah.
taking a shower was impossible.
Mm.
Like, she would only sleep on me. Like, I couldn't put her down in the bouncer and go in the shower. Let's say she would like not cry, but she would like whine. Was it normal to let them whine? I don't know. But like the minute she made a peep, I would hop out the shower and pick her up. I don't know. So she would do these little whines and I would just say to Stephen, I can't shower without her crying. And I don't actually think she was crying. But so anyway, like couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And she would just sleep like on me. Like honestly, she would sleep and feed for the whole month. First month, that's all she did. And I was like, it got to 6 weeks and I thought, oh God, I need to figure out how to shower because Stephen went back to work after 4 weeks. I need to figure this out because this is a nightmare. I can't wash my hair. I can't shower. I'm just sitting here till like noon hoping she'll fall asleep. I can put her in the crib for 5 minutes, jump in the shower. I was like, okay, I'm going to try the schedule thing. So I put on a schedule, and then people would say to me, multiple people, don't be so rigid with the schedule. Because I'd be like, oh, nap time's in 10 minutes. And I remember we had family visiting, and it was a wake window, and they took Noemi out with Stephen in the stroller, and she fell asleep in the stroller and threw the whole schedule out.
Yeah.
And I remember getting really upset over it, not at them, but we honestly with Stephen being like, that was the schedule. And he was like, should we not just ease up a little bit? Like, I want to take her on a stroller walk. To me, I actually was happier following a schedule. I'm
Yeah.
going to be honest about that, because I knew exactly what my days looked like with the schedule.
Yeah.
I would know, this is my time to shower. This is my time to work out. This is my time to do other stuff.
Yeah.
And when she's awake, I'm playing with her. I'm with her.
Yeah.
And when that schedule was mixed up, if she just randomly slept, she would then be really cranky.
Yeah.
And the only person she'd want is me.
Yeah.
And that would really have a knock-on effect of my day. If she's then really upset and overtired and won't sleep, that was just, it's just a lot.
And then you feel emotionally fragile as well, because your baby's upset and then you're getting upset. Like, it's just a vicious cycle.
And there's a house full of family, and then I'm in the other room trying to soothe her because she's overtired. Like, that just didn't work for me. And so I remember like saying to Stephen, do you know what? Maybe like the advice is actually don't be so rigid for me.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's taking care of her all the time.
Yeah.
For me, the schedule does work, because then it gives me predictability into my day. And we're 6 weeks into having a newborn baby. I feel like my whole life's up in shambles of what's my day look like.
Yeah.
That was really powerful for me. And so I'm happy that that was rigid. And, you know, I would say to certain people, if you're going to come over at this window, and I have one friend that's always late.
Yeah.
And I ended up saying to her, she was an hour late. And I said to her, I'm sorry, but you've missed the window. Like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad for that.
Yeah. No, you can't. I love that you actually gave the example there as well of just being like, you're in the bedroom soothing the baby, you've got a house full of family, because that is so fucking relatable, where it doesn't matter how many people you've got around you. In certain situations, you're just mum and no one's going to replace mum. But that's why it's important to support what the mum needs. I'm with you. Schedules, big. I feel like I spent a lot of the early days in survival mode without realizing it, particularly breastfeeding. I felt like I didn't know when he needed to feed, and so I just constantly felt on edge. Like, I remember having this thing where I felt like I couldn't even do a 20-minute workout because I felt like as soon as I got on the mat, he'd need to feed. And it just left me feeling, even when I talk about it now, like tense. Like, I felt so on edge. And actually getting more of a schedule in place, like you said, like I knew more of the rhythms and more of the flow and what was going to happen when. And it's really funny because I used to think, and I'll be completely honest, I used to not judge, but I used to find it like a bit rigid when parents had these rigid schedules.
I judge.
Yeah, when people are like, oh, sorry, we can't do lunch then because of da and da. I was like, guys, lighten the fuck up. Come on.
I've got to go pump. I'm like, why can't you wait 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. And now I'm like, oh my God, I get it. Like, I truly get it, because like you said, it throws everything off. Then the baby's upset. And yeah, and I also think, like, related to that, you guys saved me and Jake, because you brought up the magical Cara baby training. God bless Cara. I feel like she's a controversial character. People either love her or hate her. I think she's an angel sent from the heavens. Cara baby has changed my life. We weren't sleeping and we were hanging on by a thread. And sleep deprivation is a form of torture. Can we just remember that?
Yeah.
That's how they fucking torture people. I remember being in the hospital, actually, hallucinating because I hadn't slept so much. It's awful. And you introduced us to I would call it like gentle sleep training.
Very gentle. And I also do just want to say, being completely honest, you two were really struggling.
Yeah.
Me and Stephen, I remember we seen you, I think it was that morning.
Yeah.
And I think you were really close to tears. I could see it in your face.
Yeah.
And the two of you, you could see it on the two. Oh, they are struggling right now. And me and Stephen came home and we were like, I think we should tell them we did taking Cara babies. Like, take it or leave. It worked for us. I know it's like controversial in our friendship group.
Yeah.
But we'd said to you, can you please come round?
Yeah.
So we can tell you our experience with it.
Yeah.
Because if you're both not on the same page, it can cause a rift between the two of you.
Yeah.
And we literally asked you to come round
We
that
had a
day.
meeting.
Yeah, we had a meeting. I was like, please come round, make you some coffee, but I need you both to sit and I'm going to tell you all this.
Yeah.
Then you can go and get the course.
Yeah.
But let us tell you what it could do to your relationship if you're not on the same page.
Yeah.
But I swear by it.
Honestly, you guys saved us. And I think also, I do want to be honest there, I definitely felt if I found it hard because I did have a lot of friends who were like anti-sleep training. And also my Instagram algorithm was serving me similar things that you mentioned at the beginning with the night nurse. Like these, I still remember this post where it's like, I wake in the night and you are not there. And I feel so lonely and I'm so scared. Like all this just like bullshit. It was like written from the baby's perspective. And so I was nervous around this whole thing. And honestly, it was a lifesaver for us. And not only just for me and Jake, Leo was sleeping and he's so much happier to the point now where I can see in him when we go off the schedule or he has a bad night or like whatever it is and he hasn't slept, I can tell he's not as happy. He's grumpy, he struggles, he has more tantrums. Like it just doesn't serve us as a family if we're not sleeping or doing that.
And this might ruffle a lot of feathers,
Mm.
but I remember a lot of people saying to me from Noemi being maybe, let's say 9 months,
Yeah.
she's such a happy baby. She's so advanced. Whatever advanced means, like who knows what, like babies can do their own thing. And my response would be, she sleeps.
Oh my God. I don't think that's controversial. I could not agree with you more.
People have always said that to me. She's
Yeah.
such a happy baby.
Yeah.
And she has slept.
Yeah.
We've had a schedule.
Yeah.
I've always made sure she gets her naps in.
Yeah.
And we had her sleeping 12 hours a night from, I think it was about 6 months.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do a big cry it out or any like scary things like that.
No.
I wasn't a big believer in that. But we had her sleeping through the night, and we would be around some babies that hadn't slept and were just go to like mum and baby groups and the other babies that haven't, and then mums are like, oh, he hasn't been sleeping or whatever. And the babies are exhausted and the parents are exhausted.
Yeah.
And people would always say, Noemi's happy. And I would say, yeah, because she's sleeping.
I 1000% agree with this. Like from personal experience, that's not controversial.
And it's not to say that every baby needs sleep trained to sleep.
Yeah.
It's just for us. And maybe Noemi was happier because we were happier and well rested. I don't know. But I would just notice when she was really having enough naps during the day, when she was getting enough sleep at night, she was so energetic in her wake windows and just happy.
Yeah.
And she was like coming on really fast and advancing really fast. And yeah, it just felt really good to us to figure that sleep thing out for all of us. And for me and Stephen too, because I swear we would be so in love one day. We would have a sleepless night and wake up and I'm like, why are you breathing like that? Like we would just be at each other's throats.
Yeah.
And we'd both have to stop midway through the day and be like, I'm so sorry. I love you.
Mm-hmm.
This is sleep deprivation. I don't know why I'm being rude to you right now. This is sleep deprivation. And that's not good for your baby either.
Yeah. 100%.
So just is what it is. And I also want to name like, this can sound like a really privileged conversation that we're having. The night nurses, all that stuff. I get it. Yeah. And I'm just going to be really honest about our whole experience, because I also think it's pretty shitty when people pretend they don't have help and they're doing it all on their own. And I'm like, I'm not going to pretend that, because I did have help from Noemi's very early age. Mm. And I want to be really honest about that, because I absolutely do not want any mum comparing themselves to me, thinking that I'm maybe handling it better or whatever. Yeah. Absolutely not. I had help.
And if anything, that is something that's always made me feel worse. Not knowing that someone's actually having help, but they're making out that they don't. And then I'm comparing myself thinking, they're doing it all. Why can't I do it all? And I do agree with you. I think it is. There are elements of really like privilege in here. Definitely acknowledging that. And just on a slight balance to that as well, we both live as expats, which I do think is something worth bringing up, because again, I've got a lot of expat mums in my community that I've spoken to. And it is just different. Now, that's not to say if you live at home, you automatically have childcare. Again, I have friends who have lost their parents and things like this, so they don't necessarily have childcare around them. But we don't have family here where I can just call up my mum and be like, hey, mum, I'm really struggling today. Could you come round and watch the baby for half an hour? I don't have, oh, hi, my sister, can we go on a date night? Can you look after the baby for the evening whilst we do that? So I do also just think that's worth bringing up as well, where there's an extra factor here of not actually having support around you naturally. So having to really call in that extra team support a little bit more.
No, I actually think that's really important to name that, because there's nobody.
No.
Like it's just out here solo. So yeah, I love
You've
that.
got other friends who are also
in the thick of it.
Completely in the thick of it. I just want to say really quickly, looking back to the sleep training thing, about the happy baby, the other thing that I noticed is Leo would wake up really happy in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't wake up screaming. And also, if he woke up in the night, he'd be really content. And I just noticed a level of peacefulness in him that I just want to note, because I do think sometimes the internet makes you think that your baby's just screaming and you're ignoring a screaming baby. And actually, like, I noticed he would wake up and feel really safe and then go back to sleep. So just want to throw that out there.
I just on that, I remember when we were doing the training with Noemi, and she woke up during the night, one of the nights, and I'd be so used to rushing to her side. And she woke up, she opened her eyes, and she just went, and then adjusted positions and went back to sleep.
Yeah.
And I remember just feeling so happy that she had that skill, that she
Yeah.
could put herself back to sleep. And that was such a proud moment of, oh, I'm really happy that she can do that and feel safe in her bed to like just open her eyes, close her eyes again.
I love that. Do you know, it just does remind me though. You know, you were saying earlier about when she'd like peep when you were showering. I remember having an argument with my husband's grandmother. I'm not proud of this. She's an older lady. I shouldn't have had an argument with my husband's grandmother. But we were at dinner and Leo was in the bassinet, like the lie down one, and he made a peep and me and Jake rushed him. Leapt out of our chairs, couldn't be quicker. I did not let that baby peep without leaping to his side. So he peeped. And she said to me, you know, you don't have to get up every time he makes a noise. And I was so fucking offended. I was like, what kind of cruel parenting does your grandmother expect me to do? I can't believe this is so old fashioned. The judgment, I look back now and I'm like, Alex, like maybe you should have listened to her. The woman had multiple babies. She was a nurse. Like maybe she actually knew. And that is worth noting. There's a difference between a peep and a cry, which I did not understand as a new mum. Now I know the difference between you're gargling and you're crying. But at the time, yeah, I fell out with an older lady.
No, I'm laughing because that was me. Noemi couldn't so much as go without me leaping. I mean, oh my God. I mean, but now, do you know what? We're probably going to be those grandmas when our kids that like, we will probably be like, you don't need to. And they'll be like, oh my God, so offended.
I'll send them this podcast.
We will. But then you just learn.
Yeah.
But I never, with hindsight now, great. But at the time, I just didn't even, I just thought, oh God, she needs me. She needs me. Oh my, no, this is hilarious. So I wouldn't even want her to be like, sometimes I would get her to sleep and me and Stephen would plan to sit and have dinner together.
Yeah.
And she'd make one peep, right? I'd have her in the snuggle me thing or baby born bouncer. She'd make one peep. I would leap up and we'd put the bouncer on the kitchen table and we'd do this. Just so that if there was any peeps, I could just immediately touch her.
I'm laughing, but I'm also like, oh yeah, flashbacks. Yeah, we had dinner as a 3.
With the bouncer on the kitchen table.
On the kitchen table. Your guys' bouncer, we borrowed your bouncer.
Yeah,
so we could do that exact thing. Wild.
And all she was doing was making a noise in her sleep.
Literally. It's literally the equivalent of us just like moving it. Can you imagine if someone leapt to you it's freaking annoying. Probably work them up more half the time.
Oh my God, I'm dead. What else was there?
Raw milk.
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm probably going to get cancelled for this one. Should I give my toddler raw milk? And I think it's great for her and she tolerates it really well.
I give my toddler raw milk as well, so I'll go down with you, babe.
I've done the research and the research that I've looked at checks out. I've never had a single issue. She is amazing. Yeah. She's healthy AF.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep doing it.
But can I just say, maybe to uncancel you, is the scientific research about how much more nutrients there are in it, how much more digestible it is, because it's got a certain enzyme in it that makes it easier.
Yes, it digests so much easier. It has so many more vitamins in that are more bioavailable. There's just so much research on it, and I went down so many rabbit holes.
Yeah,
I get raw, organic, pasture-raised A2 milk, and I'm very specific about where I get it from, and I'm going to keep doing it. And as a whole family, I give her raw milk. We have raw cream in the house. We do raw cheese, and we absolutely love it.
Yeah, same. And I do have a story on this.
What?
So Leo got like a mystery illness at one point, which turned out, I'll ruin the ending, it was hand, foot and mouth. But the way it originally showed up was he had a fever, he was crying, and you know what it's like when they're a baby. Like,
oh yeah.
They can't tell you what's wrong, but you can tell there's something wrong. Anyway, his fever got really high. It was like 104. So we go into the hospital, go to the emergency room. I have taught myself in a loop on the way to the hospital. And I have convinced myself that I have poisoned my child with raw dairy. And this is why my child is mysteriously ill. It must be the raw dairy. And I must confess my sins immediately to the doctor so that they know what's wrong with him, so they can diagnose the raw, whatever he's got from the raw dairy, and we can get him the help he needs. Oh, babe, fucking psychopath.
Have I told me this?
No, I've not told you this. Babe, it's so bad. We get to the emergency room. They tend to, I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but they tend to see you very fast if it's to do with a baby. So they see us super fast. And we're like, they're like, yeah, his temperature's really high. And I'm like, I think I know what it is. And she's okay. And I'm like, raw dairy. I making bleed out my depression. Like, I was okay. I'm like ranting like a crazy woman. The doctor laughs at me. She laughs and goes, I don't think it's the raw dairy. The doctor herself, and obviously this is not all doctors' opinions, so I can't like make a sweeping generalization, but she was like, it's okay to give him raw dairy. This isn't from the raw dairy.
What? My God.
Yeah, so I was literally like, they're going to call Child Protective Services on me because I poisoned my child with raw dairy. I was down all the rabbit holes in the car. And yeah, no, it turns out I just had hand, foot and mouth.
I'm laughing though, but the amount of things that I like went down the rabbit hole with is ridiculous. Okay, I can think of 2 ridiculous things that happened, right? So one time I'm on FaceTime with my friend.
Yeah.
And Noemi was maybe 3 weeks old. And I was just doing a quick FaceTime. I shouldn't have really been FaceTiming. I was exhausted. I was very hormonal. I just was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll be a good friend. Like, I'll have this call. Anyway, Noemi needs a diaper change midway through. So I just take the phone in with me. And I open her diaper. And there was just like this weird looking black stuff in her diaper. On the call on FaceTime, I just go. And I start hysterically crying. My friend Sarah's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay? And I say, everything's fine. So I hang up and I call the doctor immediately, sobbing. I've just opened Noemi's diaper. Something's really wrong. And I told him, like, hysterical. And the doctor was, okay, tell me what it is. I said, get the little black milk. And she said, the pump. She was pumped in the diaper. That's it. That's it. For an American, a toot.
It's basically a skid mark.
Yes.
Oh, God.
And I was like, but it's black. Do you want a picture of it? And they were like, no, that's normal. And I had to call my friend back and be like, just false alarm. And she doesn't have kids. And was like, oh, okay. Do you react like that to everything? I'm like, yes.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Isn't that ridiculous?
If it helps, I did one with a poo as well, though, where it looked a bit like chalky. I Googled it and Leo was in liver failure. There's no like mildness.
Ridiculous.
It's like 0 to 100. I think I sent that actually to the mums group, that photo of his poopy diaper being like, does this look chalky to you guys? Because in my head, he now was in liver failure.
It's so bad. One time, Alexi was coming round to my house for coffee one morning and she opened the door and I'm in tears and I was like, thank God you're here. I just need your advice. She's, oh my God, what's wrong? I'm like, just share the words. So she comes in Noemi's room. I'm taking Noemi's clothes. I'm like, I just don't know what it is. And obviously Alexi had it 4 under 4 at that time. She was like, oh yeah, it's just a baby rash. And I was like, but is she okay? Do I need to take her to the hospital? She's like, she'll be fine. Does she have a temperature? No. Does she have any symptoms? No. And she's fine.
Okay, can I defend you on this one though? Because we grew up in the UK at the time where I remember constantly seeing on the TV the meningitis rash.
Oh, the roll of glass over it. Oh, trust me, babe. I've been rolling glasses.
Apparently that's not a thing over here. They don't roll glasses. So we recently had another one where I was like, oh my God, is it
roll of glass?
Rolled the glass. It didn't disappear. I was like, get him to the doctors. And the doctor was like, the roller glass thing isn't a thing, guys. Apparently it's not a thing over here. But I think this is why we're traumatized by rashes.
Oh my God. I just would cry. I was hormonal, but I would cry over everything.
Yeah.
The slightest scare and I'm in floods of tears. Straight. Sarah, come downstairs.
Babe, I feel like we're going to have to do a part 2 to this. I feel like there's so many more. But
I'm so glad that you brought this topic up though, because just looking back, I just feel so much compassion for myself, but so much confidence about when I choose to do it again.
Yeah. And I also hope that a new mum can listen to this.
Yeah.
And realize that A, it's normal to feel completely psycho about things, but maybe she can also learn from some of our mistakes.
Yeah.
And just relax a little bit, as much as is possible as a newborn.
Oh my God.
Watch the box sets. Thank you for being on, babes.
This is amazing.